Hello world and humans! So this is my first wrap up in TBR video. I'm wrapping up January and I'm explaining about the books I'm reading in February. Let's get to it. So the books I read this month, there were 8 of them. And I liked most of them. The first one I read, I started in December and finished on January 1st. And that is Champion by Marie Lu. This is the 3rd book in the Legend series. This was my 2nd favorite in the series. This book did not live up to my expectations of the series. The ending kind of disappointed me. But in all, a beautiful book. If you haven't read the Legend series, I highly recommend it. The 2nd book I read this month, which I don't have with me right now, was Matched by Condie. I didn't read the rest of this series even though I had them from the library. I just didn't like the book. The plot seemed very obvious. I could guess what was going to happen. It was probably my least favorite book I read this month. The 3rd book I read in January, which I also don't have with me, was The Testing by Joelle Charbonne. Why are authors' names so difficult to pronounce? It just annoys me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. The Testing is a great book if you are a huge fan of The Hunger Games or Divergent. It takes place in a dystopian world where the country is separated into very small societies. And every year from the graduating class of each society, some officials will come and may or may not take some of the students away to participate in the testing, where they compete to see which of them gets to go to college and which doesn't. And it blew my mind. I didn't think it was going to be this good, and I'm super excited to read the sequel. The 4th book I read this month was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I have heard so much about this book from Jessie the Reader and on Goodreads and social media, and I had been wanting to get my hands on this book for so long. I got it for Christmas, and I got around to reading it. And OMG, it was so good. It was so good. I've been trying to convince my friend to read this book, and he won't, and I'm annoyed at him. Everyone should read this book. It's one of those books that people just need to read. It's about a teenage boy who goes away to this island and finds an orphanage full of peculiar children and a bunch of interesting things, and his adventures there. I recommend it to anyone who likes any type of book. Seriously, just read this book. Okay. The next book I read this month, which you should definitely check out, is Room by Donoghue. I heard about this book from my sister, and she wouldn't stop raving about it, which is very rare because she doesn't read a lot. So I had to pick it up like right away. It's told from a 5-year-old's point of view. His whole world is compacted in this one room. If you want a book about family and enjoy contemporary, check out Room. The next book I read this month that I also don't have with me because it was a library book is Across the Universe by Beth Revis. And Across the Universe is a sci-fi novel, and I don't usually read a lot of sci-fi. I like contemporary and fantasy, but I read Across the Universe and loved it. The characters are very interesting, and the whole story just fascinating. I can't wait to get my hands on the next 2 books in the series. I'm glad both of them are out. Second to last book I read this month was The Book Thief by Markus. I had wanted to read this book before the the movie came out, and I failed epically at that, and I just got around to it. It was a very slow read for me. I got very mad at it a few times because I couldn't get through it fast enough because I'm used to reading books very quickly. But the ending had me in tears. It gave me a whole new perspective on Germany and World War II, and I can understand why The Book Thief is loved and is some people's favorite book ever. I saw the trailer and it's amazing. Okay. And the last book that I read this month, and I finished like last night, and I was freaking out because of the cliffhanger, is Hollow City by Ransom. The sequel to the other book I read this month, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Yeah, this is the sequel, and it came out this month. I didn't get it till last week. So much better than the first one. I cannot explain. It's full of adventure, more adventure than the first one. So different, and I love books that are different. Who knows how long it'll be till the next one? I need to know more. I need the next book, even though it's probably gonna be like years or something. I was like yelling at my wall because of how and that was my January wrap up. Once again, I read 8 books this month, and I'm very proud of that. So I'm down to 67 books for the year. And for this month, I plan on reading at least 6 books. But in a perfect world, I would read 8 books this month. The world isn't a wish-granting factory. The first book and book I am currently reading is The Unbecoming of Dyer. I'm about 30 pages into this, and I liked the first few chapters a lot because one of the main points that I like so far is that it skips around. It doesn't tell a straight through story, and I'm excited to get through this. Also this month, probably not right after I finish The Unbecoming, I want to read the sequel, The Evolution of Dyer, so that I can be all ready for the 3rd book. So yes, I will be reading those 2 this month. Alright, and the next book I want to read this month is Ruby Red by Kristen Gear. I've heard so much about this series. Ruby Red and Emerald Green and Sapphire Blue is exploding, and I need to be in on it. So I got it from the library because I don't have enough money to go out and buy it. And I plan on reading it like in a week because I need to get in on this. All I know about it is it's about a family who time travels and about this one girl. The 4th book I want to read this month is Cinder, which I am also extremely excited about. Cinder is apparently about robots, and it's a retelling of Cinderella. That whole concept kind of freaks me out, but I'm still pretty excited about it. I hope it's as good as everyone says, and I am extremely excited to see what my opinion is about this book. The next book I want to read this month is Frozen, and I have absolute no idea what this is about. I'm just going into it without anything. Actually, I've heard it's about a boarding school, which is good because the one book I've read about a boarding school was an amazing book. Maybe that's just John Green. So the last book I want to get through is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. And I've had a few recommendations. It's about a town that's made up of boys. Excitement! Woo! So those are the 6 books I want to read this month. Also, if I can, and I probably can't, I want to get in on the Control read-along thing with all the booktubers. I probably won't be able to. Who knows? In a perfect world, I would also be able to read The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rofuss this month, which is a huge fantasy novel that I've heard so much about. And so that was my wrap up for January and my TBR for February. As you can see, I'm kind of into this pattern where I do a video every week. I kind of missed last week. I'm sorry. I'm going to camp next weekend, so instead of putting up a video during the weekend, I'm going to put one up on Thursday, and I'm so excited for that video because it's going to be my first skit. So thank you for everyone who watches me, and goodbye! And rewatching the Tiffyos trailer for the 107th time starting now.